What does it mean to remain at home for so long, in complete solitude, or with one's partner and family? What does it imply to stop working, or working exposed to the risk of contagion?
What are the consequences of having transferred almost all our work and relationships online?
Has anything changed in our emotional and working relationships due to being exposed to the once private spaces of our colleagues, clients, and employers through our screens?
What is our loneliness like?
What is the forced sharing of our homes like? What is the legacy of the almost complete disappearance of the separation between private workspaces and times?
The consumption of leisure time.
The continuous promiscuity of our dining and work tables. What is left of us, of who we were, after almost a year and a half of worldwide confinement? With the prospect of a long transition period lying ahead of us. What are the consequences of no access, followed by restricted access, to live artistic and cultural experience? Do suffering, restrictions, the lack of work unite or exacerbate social differences, competition, violence? How can we deal with the escalation of domestic violence?
What does "nothing will be the same as before" mean?
What has come to light during the pandemic in terms of relationship and work? What can art do? What can I do, insofar as I can, to fill in, at least in part, this sense of loneliness?
This sense of loneliness.
To transform, to accompany our bewilderment, to strengthen connections from a distance.
I'm Irene Pittatore. I'm an artist and journalist, and I consider art and culture primary goods, necessities for our development, our well-being, our growth as citizens and part of a community.
After a short introduction, I would like to present some art projects to illustrate different ways in which art can foster connections even from a distance. Art and culture are important resources for care, education, self-development, and the construction of a more equal and inclusive society. This is also stated in 2019 World Health Organization's Health Evidence Network Synthesis Report, the largest review ever carried out on the subject, which assessed more than 900 papers over the last 20 years. Moreover, the new European Agenda 2030 emphasizes the importance of cultural crossovers. The agenda promotes the urgency for systemic relationships between health, social and environmental policies, and culture. If the Sustainable Development Goals are grouped around the economic, social, environmental objectives as the three pillars of sustainable development, then culture and creativity contribute to each of these pillars transversely. The virtuous relationships with art becomes even more relevant and strategic when it comes to the pandemic scenario, where artists and art institutions have also tried to rethink the premises and methods of their actions, redesigning and rethinking projects for a remote fruition, shifting from on-site to online formats, and whenever this is impossible or does not make sense to do so, focusing on research. Museums and art institutions have tried not to lose connections with their audiences, creating opportunities for reflection and dialogue of urgent issues. For example, the Castello di Rivoli Museum of Contemporary Art in Turin, Italy, presented an online program entitled Digital Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder, the practice of art and its impact on digital trauma. A series of contributions on the consequences of the increase in virtual activities due to the closing of spaces dedicated to aggregation like museums. Digital PTSD prompts reflection on screen-based experience and observing the stress related to digital overload in an attempt to reimagine museums and overcome the binary approach real, virtual, body and mind. I believe it is also important to strengthen the relationship between museums and artists, as did Mambo Museum in Bologna, offering its spaces to local artists for research and production during the lockdown, as well as fostering systemic collaboration between artists, schools, universities, NGOs, businesses, hospitals and social services alike. Through an analysis of my recent professional experience, I would like to offer some examples of how art can trigger connection processes between individuals and groups located in different countries, as well as foster relationships between different professional contexts, even at a distance. With the collaboration of one of FU-BEST instructors, Isabelle Demangeat, an expert in cross-cultural online training and cooperation, I have tried to cope with the disappearance of live work, exhibitions, workshops, performances, public lectures, collaboration with universities, along with the consequent sense of bewilderment and disorientation, as well as economic uncertainty. Use Me Flag is a participatory art project of mine based on performance and photography. It's capable of involving and activating students, researchers, established working groups, as well as cross-sectional groups set up for the occasion, on themes of inclusion and intercultural communication, starting from the sharing of personal and professional experience as well as fabrics. The project has a live, on-site origin and focuses on a universal fabric of identification and signalization, the flag. Analyzing its power, the need to belong that it collects, and the revendications it is the object of, put together collectively during a narrative workshop. The flag is made up of heterogeneous fabrics that take advantage of their stories to express an idea of inclusion rather than supremacy. The long flag, symbol of an idea of welcome, nourished by the personal experiences of the participants, is then translated into the object of a performance open to the public. And once the usual position of the flag is inverted and it is placed on the ground to form a pathway rather than being hoisted, the public is invited to step onto it. The audience's walk is accompanied by the voices of the performers who whisper the story of their own meter of fabric. The digital version of the project, Use Me Flag Online Edition, was conceived in 2020 during the first Italian lockdown. Despite the distance, the impossibility of patching the fabrics together and meeting the audience live, this online experiment opened up new perspectives for the composite virtual flag and its stories. The impact of the workshop and the performance will be analyzed by the instructor and trainer Isabelle Demangeat and the anthropologist Silvia Stefani after the screening of the videos of the performances enacted within their courses. Let's start with the 9-minute video showing the public performance Isabelle Demangeat students did during the course Communication and Cooperation Across Culture at a Distance at FU-BEST University. The students come from Canada, Germany, Korea and China. The performance took place after a 4-hour workshop dedicated to the topic of inclusion and as well as intercultural communication, based on students' experiences in textiles. In addition to English, we worked in 4 other languages, the mother tongue of each participant, so that the group and the audience of the performance as well unexpectedly had to face unfamiliar languages and experience the frustration, curiosity, and sense of foreignness or belonging that often accompany experiences abroad.
Als ich für meinen 4-monatigen Aufenthalt in Kalifornien bei meiner Gastfamilie ankam, habe ich mich nicht sehr willkommen geheißen gefühlt. Ich musste am gegenüberliegenden Tischende sitzen, durfte den Kühlschrank nicht benutzen, die Heizung wurde nicht angedreht und in meinem ganzen Zimmer waren persönliche Gegenstände der Gasteltern. Deswegen habe ich mich dazu entschieden, in eine Wohngemeinschaft umzuziehen. Und die Mädchen dort haben mich sehr herzlich begrüßt und wollten gleich mit mir shoppen gehen, um meine Laune zu verbessern. Und während dieses Shopping-Trips habe ich mir dieses T-Shirt gekauft. Und es erinnert mich seitdem daran, dass jede fremde Umgebung sich doch noch irgendwie heimisch anfühlen kann. When I arrived in California at my host family for a 4-month-long stay, I didn't feel welcome. I had to sit on the opposite table ends, wasn't allowed to use the fridge, and the heating wouldn't be turned on for me, and my whole room was stuffed with personal belongings of the host parents. So in turn, I decided to move to a shared house. And the girls there greeted me very warmly and wanted to go shopping with me to improve my mood. And on this shopping spree, I bought this t-shirt, which since then reminds me that every foreign environment can always feel homely.
Après mes études secondaires, j'ai voyagé pendant 6 mois à l'étranger. Durant cette période, j'ai passé quelques semaines en Allemagne chez une amie que je n'avais pas vue depuis plusieurs années. Elle m'a tout de suite fait sentir bienvenue dans sa maison et la ville dont nous restions. Elle m'a donné ce foulard de cachemire. Ce foulard est très doux et me fait penser au temps dont nous avons passé ensemble. After my high school studies, I traveled for 6 months abroad. During this time, I spent a few weeks in Germany at a friend's house that I had not seen for many years. She immediately made me feel welcome in her house and in the city where we lived. She gave me this cashmere scarf. It is very soft and reminds me of the time we spent together.
저는 이 티셔츠를 한국에서 샀습니다. 어떤 내용이 적혀 있는지 전혀 신경 쓰지 않은 채 그저 집에서 편하게 입기 위해서 구매했던 티셔츠였습니다. 저는 이 티셔츠를 캐나다에서 잠깐 어학연수를 하기 위해 떠났을 때 가져갔었는데요. 저는 호스트 가족들과 함께 지내고 있었습니다. 무심코 이 옷을 입고 호스트 가족들 앞에 나타났을 때 그들은 정말 깜짝 놀라면서 웃음을 터뜨렸습니다. 그리고 몇 가지 질문 던졌습니다. 너가 샀니? 이거 어디서 샀어? 뭐라 적혀 있는지 읽어봤어? 내가 혹시 사진 좀 찍어도 될까? 등의 반응에 저는 굉장히 부끄러웠습니다. 그들이 의도하고 공격하려 했던 것은 아니라는 걸 알고 있지만 저는 매우 당황스러웠었고 또 굉장히 이방이라는 느낌이 와닿았었습니다. 저는 또한 영어를 사용할 수 있는 사용자이지만 여기에 어떤 게 적혀 있는지 무감할 정도로 원어민이 아니라는 사실을 또 한 번 알게 되었습니다. 두 번 다시 이 티셔츠를 그 뒤로 입지 않았고 저는 이 티셔츠를 볼 때마다 그 상황이 떠오릅니다. I bought this t-shirt from my hometown. I bought this one without any care with what's written in English, just wearing it at home. And I brought this one to Canada when I went there for 3 months and stayed with my host family to learn English. I wear this one without any care and faced them. They were surprised and burst into laughter. And they gave me some questions. So did you buy it, or did you read the sentence? Or can I take a picture if you don't mind? I know they were not offensive and they were not teasing me. I felt very ashamed. I felt like so foreigner and so stranger to them. And I felt I am not native speaker at that point that didn't care about what's written in English, though I speak and can use English. And after that, I've never tried these t-shirts anymore. And yeah, whenever I see this one, the situation pops up to my head.
我想分享的织物是这条蓝色的运动毛巾，这是我最好的朋友送给我的。在2015年，我刚刚初中毕业，我和我最好的朋友计划一起去日本旅行，但遗憾的是，我在运动中受伤了。无奈之下，我的朋友只好自己一个人去旅行。在旅途中，他买下这条毛巾作为礼物，因为他听说这应用了新的材料技术。这些礼物很大程度上弥补了我没能出去旅行的遗憾，也让我非常感动。时至今日，由于种种原因，我和我的朋友的联系逐渐减少了，但我依然保留着这条毛巾作为我们友情的象征。The fabric I want to share is this blue sports towel. This was given to me by my best friend. In 2015, I just graduated from senior high school, and my best friend and I planned to travel to Japan together. But unfortunately, I was injured in sports. In desperation, my friend had to travel alone. During his trip, he bought this towel as a gift because he heard that it used new material technology. The gift made up for the regret that I had not been able to travel, and it moved me very much. Today, due to various reasons, my contact with my friend has gradually diminished, but I still retain this towel as a symbol of our friendship.
안녕하세요. 이 옷은 제가 어릴 때 해외에 3년 살다가 온 직후 체육대회 때 입었던 옷인데요. 학교에서 반 친구들끼리 맞춰서 같은 옷을 입었음에도 불구하고 제가 한국어를 하는 한국인임에도 불구하고 다른 생각과 태도 및 가치관을 가졌다는 이유로 멸시받았을 때 입었던 옷입니다. 겉으로는 한국인처럼 느껴지지만 생각과 태도 등이 다르다는 이유로 환영을 받지 못한다는 것은 굉장히 허하고 외롭고 슬픈 기분이었던 것 같습니다. 한 나라의 문화에 대한 정의가 있을까요? This is a t-shirt that I wore for the sports day at school after I came back from foreign country that I lived for 3 years. Though I was wearing the same clothes with my classmates and talking in Korean like the others, I was left out from my friends, just because I had different thoughts, minds, attitudes, and values. I looked like a Korean outwardly, but I felt very empty and lonely that I was not welcomed because of not acting and thinking like a Korean person. Would there be a standard definition about one country's culture?
Attachment.
Loneliness. Thank you for sharing.
Changing.
I feel touched.
Resonance.
Welcome.
Connection.
Grateful.
Warm.
Thankful.
Welcome.
Timber.
Delicatezza.
Openness. Thank you for having me and giving me the opportunity to share the experience as an instructor with the project US Me Flag. I work with very diverse groups from people around the world, both on ground and online. And since 2020, of course, 98% of my work is online. My first contact with your project, USME Flag Online, was with a workshop and performance you led last year, December, with a group of 20 students from Turin. And the topic was also about feeling welcome or not welcome. I was one of the spectators at that time, hidden on the Zoom platform during the students' performance. I was really fascinated by the experience, the stories told by the students, how concise and rich the contents they convey are. And as a trainer and lecturer or instructor, I wished all my participants could share the same experience. And it was a starting point, the starting idea to include your work into the course on communication and collaboration across culture at a distance I ran this summer for the FU-BEST University in Berlin. What I would like to share with the audience is what is the importance of this format and how we can contribute to the work of the group. And from my experience, it has a major effect on two elements. One is the self-awareness and which is needed for cross-cultural competency. And the second one is about the group dynamics. So if we look at the first one, to enhance the competency of people working across cultures, self-awareness and the disruptive experiences we do all when we are outside of our cultural environment is crucial to understand how to create really understanding. Very interesting that the students shows good and bad experiences for these disruptions they encountered when they were abroad. The second part is, as I said, the group dynamic. And the group dynamic is also in the sense that it creates a cohesiveness, a cohesion within the group. This positive dynamic is something we need when we are working cross-culturally, especially in remotely, and also to understand the similarities and the differences we have with others. For example, we had a discussion in the group after the performance on which kind of experiences and which kind of differences people, because of the different backgrounds, will notice in the experiences of the others. Also the use of language, because in the performance we use the mother tongue and the English. So there was opening a lot of very interesting discussion, which was on the level of the content of the course and also linked with the personal individual experience. So then, of course, the topic you chose, feeling welcome or not, helped a lot, not only because it's obviously aligned with the content of a course on cross-cultural communication, but also because it is a shared human experience. When the students shared the experience, we all quickly felt that we can recognize their emotions. We all, at some points, being abroad and being confronted with differences, were in that point and where they were. Working on a performance, there are 6 different points I identified which makes a difference. One is the sharing, to share in a very personal way. People open themselves. The second one is you concentrate on the conciseness of the story and you focus on the essentials. Then I noticed that the third point will be that people, and as a group, we build up a common result and successes, and the success everybody is responsible for. So this connectiveness within the group is also very important, because there is something to achieve together very quickly. And then people expose themselves to a broader public during the performance and also afterwards, because everybody knew and accepted this video will be displayed outside of the course. So this exposition and to expose yourself to others is also something which create a concentration on individual level and with the group. So the fifth point will be that the performance receive an immediate feedback from the audience, and what we experience, and I experience this as a spectators and as an instructor with the group here at the FU-BEST, is that the public connects on a very emotional level and content level at the same time. It's really like both together, which is more difficult when we work with other didactical methodologies. And the sixth point, last but not least, is the emotional experience and connection with the fellow students and with other people. So that creates really the whole experience. And for me, it was the first time working in that way with a performance, with an artistic also point of view, which given a different dimension. And I must say that we did that work within not even 3 hours, which is great. And yeah, it achieved a lot for our group. And we had a lot of discussion also after the performance linked to the content on the course itself. So thank you very much for the experience. And I thank the students also for going into this adventure altogether.
Let me introduce myself. My name is Silvia Stefani, and I'm an anthropologist and a social worker. I met Irene at the very beginning of the U.S.Me Flag artistic project in 2018. Together with a group of anthropology, social work students and teachers, we waved together a very long flag made up of our personal fabrics and welcoming stories, which became at each performance a carpet to walk on. In 2020, I became coordinator of a one-year-long course organized by the Intercultural Center of the City of Turin and the ASAI Intercultural Animation Association. The course is for young people who want to train on intercultural animation. I immediately hoped to be able to connect our group information with the artistic path of Irene, who to my great joy agreed. We decided to build the U.S.Me Flag performance at an early stage of the training course, a stage that was dedicated to group training. However, during the first week of the course, the second Italian lockdown began. I never saw the course participant in person until the following spring. We had to get to know each other, discover and trust each other through the Zoom call, looking at the boxes on the screen. I wasn't able to imagine their bodies behind those screens. I didn't know if the boys and girls were tall, short, thin, fat, easygoing or shy in the way they moved their bodies. Building a group in those conditions seems a difficult challenge to me. How difficult it was to turn the performance of U.S.Me Flag in an online one. The very materiality of the fabrics, the act of walking, the whispers in the ears seemed so important to me. Yet Irene did not lose heart. With her mastery, she has managed to rethink the performance in a digital key. It would have been an experiment and an act of resistance. Why did I think U.S.Me Flag would it be important in building our group, our community of practice? The artistic dimension in which Irene had guided us allow us to wave bonds on a deep level. Art works with other languages and reaches different levels, following speeds and movement far from the ones of rational thought. Art allows us to produce knowledge that does not necessarily separate the mind from the body, the individual from the collective, the rational from the dream. These are plans that we are not used to frequent and which are, however, so inevitably present and necessary in social and educational work. I didn't know if it would work online. Before we started work with Irene, a girl from the group wrote me a long email saying she didn't feel comfortable going so deep into a group that she still didn't feel as safe. She also suffered at the thought of having to cut a fabric to give a welcoming message. It seems to her a contradictory gesture. Later, she understood the practice was not an act of cut, but of transformation, necessary to create something new and collective. Another participant had a strong difficulty in showing her own on the screen. A third one, which in the other course meeting has monopolized the conversation, suddenly revealed to us its fragility and the need for feeling welcomed, in fact. With Irene, we have built a gentle context in which everyone could feel at ease and find their space. We experienced the welcoming not only in the stories, but in the way of being welcomed in the performance, moving from our fears, desire, and possibilities. It was a great lesson for a group in training. Finally, the construction of our virtual carpet has collected deep stories, live frames that each one has chosen to share with the other, emotions and welcoming meanings in which we recognize each other. Each voice resonates in other one's experience. The moment of the final performance was full of emotion and concentration. I would like to conclude by underlining this last topic, which I believe is truly a fundamental element of the encounter between art and the social world. The final performance, the attention and care of the gestures, the precision of the stories, the concentration of being there that Irene made us train, is, in my opinion, one of the central elements, because it allows us to transform what had been an intense moment of encounter and reflection within our group into something public. It has transformed our group work into something that can communicate with the outside, that can build bridge. Our experience has not remained private. It has become a collective heritage, which in communicating and involving other people can really promote the work of cultural transformation, which is one of the most interesting purposes of social work and artistic work.
Ero in coda in un supermercato a Bruxelles, in Belgio, con in mano un pacchetto di biscotti pan di stelle per sentirmi un po' più a casa. A un certo punto una bambina mi osserva per un po', dopodiché mi sorride e inizia a giocare con me, lanciandomi questo foulard rosso. Mi guarda, si avvicina e mi dice «C'est un cadeau pour toi». Mi sono sentita a casa.
Questa federa rappresenta l'accoglienza e la pazienza che i miei genitori mi hanno riservato nei primi 10 anni della mia vita. Ero una bambina spaventata che sognava la morte e cercava riparo nel loro letto. Da allora sono cambiate tante cose, ma ciononostante la porto sempre con me.
Questo telo apparteneva a mamma Deo. Lei era la mamma della famiglia che mi ha ospitata in Kenya per un mese. Qualche giorno prima di ritornare in Italia mi ha voluto regalare questo telo, che ha una sua particolarità. Mamma Deo lo ha piegato, cucito e tagliato, così da farne un vestito, e questo era uno di quei pochi che possedeva. Me l'ha regalato con un gesto dolcissimo. Mi sono sentita completamente accolta.
Questo velo bianco è il velo della mia nonna. Lei è mia nonna. Nonna è musulmana, mentre io sono cristiana. Viviamo nella stessa casa, siamo completamente diverse. Oltre alla religione abbiamo culture, pensieri e modi di vivere totalmente differenti. Accoglienza per me significa accettare le differenze. La diversità valorizza la società e soprattutto l'uomo.
Questa sciarpa mi è stata regalata da una donna etiope. Era la mamma di Mikias, uno dei bambini della scuola in cui lavoravo in Etiopia. Quasi tutti i bambini vivevano in strada e molti erano orfani. La mamma di Mikias, per poter dare da mangiare ai suoi bambini, si prostituiva. Parlava solo amarico e per farmi capire che voleva farmi un regalo mi aveva preso per mano, fatta sedere e aveva usato la sciarpa per raccogliermi i capelli. Ricordo quei gesti come una carezza, come un desiderio di prendersi cura di me, come accoglienza.
Il mio nome è Marcello, ma in Costa d'Avorio mi chiamano Tubabu Touré. Tubabu è il termine con il quale ci si riferisce all'uomo bianco, un termine anonimo che inizialmente ho vissuto come un marchio. Touré invece è il cognome della famiglia che mi ha accolto durante i primi mesi del mio soggiorno e che mi ha ribattezzato come Tubabu Touré, appunto. Un termine che unisce differenza e appartenenza, in altre parole accoglienza. Questo è il pagno che mi lega alla famiglia Touré.
Una grandissima commozione.
Emozione.
Commozione.
Cura.
Ricordo.
Vita.
Purezza. Autenticità.
Nonna.
Coralità.
Teatro.
Thank you very much to Silvia, Stephanie and Isabelle Demangeat for these important contributions to our project and experiences. And we now move from a collective and relational dimension to a more intimate one through another art project I conceived during the first lockdown in Italy as a reaction to the impossibility of doing my work as a photographer. Can remote photography help people to reduce distances, to generate traces of experiences shared from afar during the pandemic, or to reveal connection sensed by people despite geographical distances? From a distance, isolation portraits responds to the need to keep track and share the transformation, isolation, and fragilization our lives and work undergo. It's a visual and narrative project carried out online with webcams at different latitudes or a few blocks away. A collective constellation of discoveries that arose from the experience of living and working remotely. This project tries to challenge the boundaries of a new visual production in the absence of the proximity of bodies and the usual photographic devices, using conference platforms and webcams not only to communicate but also to document the specificity of this time. By portraying people in their living and work spaces and collecting their voices, the project aims at revealing different conditions of life, access to the internet and the communication devices. I work through my own devices and those of the person I am portraying, a computer or a smartphone with a video camera and a wireless connection. The project consists of a preliminary interview, a shooting session, and an in-depth post-production work. The result is a composition of screenshots and voices. The interview and the remote photography session can take place in any country, whatever the language of the portrayed person is. Originally conceived as a project covering the lockdown months, from a distance isolation portraits seems to bring to light unexpected possibility of photographic work that could have positive effects also in the areas of care, training and communication. I would like to share a 6-minute video with excerpts from international portraits created with the support of Aix-Marseille University and showcased for the first time online at Jeux de Lois, Festival des Sciences Sociales et des Arts, organized by Aix-Marseille University and Musen Museum in Marseille.
Sento di più le differenze di geografia. Mi sembra questa casa un po' vuota, perché è quello che mi viene di più personalmente nell'isolamento, che abito da sola e che di solito non mi viene tanto perché ero tanto in giro, era più per riposarmi tra due viaggi. Più di 25 anni che viaggio parecchie settimane al mese, sai? Forse l'ansia che la gente ha di solito quando deve partire.
Sì.
Perché l'ansia di rimanere. Ça va faire remonter à la surface. L'anxiété du vide. L'anxiété du vide du travail, du vide de l'occupation.
Pendant le premier confinement, c'était horrible pour moi de travailler. Je pouvais faire court, je répondais aux mails, mais je pouvais pas penser. J'étais dans une forme de pensée figée, gelée. Parce que toute mon énergie, elle était tournée vers le fait d'essayer de comprendre. Comme je suis historienne, j'ai essayé de regarder ce qui s'était passé par ailleurs, avant, sans pouvoir comparer, mais pour avoir des jalons, essayer de trouver des outils pour penser. Et je trouvais pas grand-chose. Pendant le premier confinement, non, j'arrivais pas à travailler. Pendant ce confinement-là, je ne fais que travailler. Mon bureau, il est jamais fermé. Ni la nuit, ni le week-end. Derrière un écran, je peux pas. Alors j'essaie, je regarde des spectacles, des captations de danse, etc. Mais c'est un ersatz insuffisant. Enfin, ce sentiment que j'ai toujours quand les lumières s'éteignent, cette espèce de mise en attente du corps, de mise en tension. Ça, c'est quelque chose qui est irremplaçable, je crois. De non reproductible en dehors de ce moment-là, dans cet endroit-là particulièrement.
Last year, I was your guinea pig for the project From a Distance Isolation Portraits, and I am happy to share my experience with it on a personal and professional level. The first word coming to my mind will be surprises. I was surprised by the interview you did with me before the photo shooting. I learned at that occasion that a portrait, at least in your work, needs a context and a connection between the photographer and the person. Then the photo shooting itself, you in Italy, me in Berlin, was really fun and surprising because I was a person trying to put the webcams in the position corresponding to your way of looking at what you are catching. I tried to do my best according to your instructions. Then I was surprised by the way you put the words and the photos together. And at least the biggest surprise was to see the edited video. This finished portrait challenged me, intimidated me, and above all revealed me to myself, like I know that others share the same experience with you too. On a professional level, we had a lot of discussion how to use this technique and this project. And we discussed the fact that a portrait is very individual and personal. On the other side, the core of the purpose of a portrait, even before photography, is to represent a person not only to themselves, but also to expose them to the look of others. It means a portrait wants to be shown. From a professional perspective, we did this experience, so to say, with a group of researchers we are working with the University of Aix-Marseille in France. And with this group, we were working together for months, online only. We didn't know each other before. Then you portrayed us. Through the portraits of our colleagues, I got to know them much better than in all the meetings we had. Because I know to get them in their environment in a more intimate way. I understood them better through the questions you asked them in the interview. The pictures stay in my mind now when I am thinking of them, probably because your artistic perspective creates surprises, and because you gave to each portrait a visual individuality connected to the person themselves, a kind of singular visual language through your compositions. In our group anyway, in our team anyway, it created a deeper link and understanding between us. For sure, in my work with remote teams, I would like to integrate these portraits for the group to create a more group cohesion. And it could be also used, I think, for presenting team members or people from an institution to the outside world in a website or whatever. And as Christmas is coming closer, it could be also used like a team advent calendar with one picture of one portrait for each day. So here there are no limitation, I think, to integration of the portrait from a distance in a professional environment.
Together with the web designer Lucia Arsena, I am now working on an interactive platform to showcase the portraits directly on a rotating planisphere, to make it easier to locate the people portrayed and compare their living and working conditions in different parts of the world. The sharing of these case studies aims at promoting and strengthening cooperation between artists, students, professors, as well as professionals from different sectors through participative art projects as a fruitful, innovative tool to reduce distances, support processes of change and inclusion.